Bitcoin has finally broken out of this downward sloping parallel channel. With this break to the upside, we are looking for bullish continuation. So I'll be going through in this video what the higher targets are for the upside, and of course, how we still do need to remain a little bit careful. Just because we've broken out of this channel, it doesn't mean we're going to go directly up from here. Everything's full bullish. No, I do agree. Things are definitely leaning to the bullish side. But as always, we have to have that degree of caution when we're looking to take our trade. So, as always, a very professional outlook of the market with no underlying biases here. Just what the charts are telling me is what I will be talking you through today. So I hope that you really enjoy this. And yeah, let's go over a deep dive into these charts then. So yeah, of course, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the breakout of this downward sloping parallel channel. We have been in this now for over 2 weeks, so it's quite a significant channel. But of course, this channel, although we say it's quite a significant breakout, as it is, okay, on a lower term time frame perspective, it's the first time that we've broken out of this again in 2 weeks. But when we zoom out ever so slightly, we see that all of this is overall a little bit insignificant because we're still within the overall sideways range from the high and low that was put in. So what I mean by this is, yeah, it's nice to break out of this downward sloping parallel channel, but it's not the biggest bullish thing we've ever seen, because at the end of the day, it is a lower term time frame channel that we've broken out of. And even the sideways channel, which was from the low and high back at the start of the month, we're still within that sideways channel. Okay, so if that makes sense, we've broken out of the downward sloping channel, but that is not extremely bullish. Why? Because it's just a breakout of a lower term time frame channel, and we're still within the bigger channel of that sideways bit of price action. So yeah, it's nice to see. We can absolutely rally another few $1,000s to the upside, but until we reclaim $103,000, we have to understand we are still within that sideways, totally sideways price action from this month, because that low was put in on the 3rd of February, the high was put in on 3rd of February. So we're still within February's low and highs. When you zoom out a little bit more, okay, it's the same story now for the past few months. The past few months here are very sideways. But what I always do remind people is zoom out. If you're ever in doubt, zoom out. What do I mean by that? Well, when you zoom out here, it's clear that we are still in a bull market. So when you just, very simply think to yourself, we are in a bull market. So what is the highest probability next? Well, you would say the highest probability is up, because we are in a bull market. As simple as that. So sometimes you can get too focused on what's going down on the 15-minute chart and, be totally confused or not understanding the best trades that are going on here. And if that is you, I would always just say zoom out, take a look at what's going on here, and you can clearly see we are still in a bull market. There is no break of market structure. We're still holding the higher highs and higher lows. Of course, we're going through consolidation now, but unless we lose $84,000, the market is still a confirmed bull market. So, of course, upside is the higher probability there. But that doesn't, of course, give you a trade setup on its own, but it is something to pay attention to when you are looking at your next trade setups. So I want to talk you through really briefly a short trade that I took yesterday, because this actually was a very nice short trade. I know some of you are going to be saying, well, Daniel, how was it a very nice short trade if you're already out of that short trade? Well, because there's a thing called take profits that you can do. And nevertheless, even if a trade loses, it still can be classed as a very nice trade, right? If you're able to extract some profits from the market. And I would always say this, even in bull markets, in uptrending markets, I still like to take short trades. Again, I think this is requirement that you have to have a higher degree of skill, because you have to be very precise with your entries. And you have to be very good with taking profits. Otherwise, if you're short in a bull market and you have too greedy of take profits, you get really bad entries. Well, you're going to take so many losses. But I actually took a really nice short yesterday on this section here. And that was at the very high of the wicks that we were forming. And on this section, we then saw New York open. So there was a lot of confluence that we had. We had a high of liquidity. We had the high of that liquidity taken on New York open. And of course, the fact that we saw the fake out at that point of the downward sloping parallel channel. So we had a few different reasons there for that short. Again, you had to be aggressive, but we did see a nice drop from $98,000 to $96,800. Okay, so a nice over $1,000 drop there, where in the end we hit into the anchored VWAP. And this is the thing, right? Anchored VWAP is the strongest level in the world, period. This is a local anchored VWAP, but a very nice take profit nevertheless. You saw the $1,000 drop into the anchored VWAP support. And yeah, in the end, that did hold up as support to bring you back above $98,000. Okay, so at this point, you're understanding, yeah, the strength in the market is very much there. If you did take the aggressive short, which I know people did, and then you, of course, had to be locking in your take profits, which I also know people did, as they were saying, thank you very much, and locking in several take profits off of that $1,000 drop. So just goes to show you that even in that's what I want to really explain here, that even in a bull market, even in something that looks super bullish, there are still short trades to be had. There are opportunities of pullbacks. You just have to be very good with your take profits. Okay, if you're not taking profits, then you're going to be losing a lot of trades, and you have to have a very good entry. What I mean by a very good entry is you have to actually be shorting up at the highs. If you are waiting to see that drop and now you're shorting at the anchored VWAP, well, you have two things. You have a very bad entry, okay, because you need to be trying to short up at the highs in a bull market. And on top of that, you're shorting where, people that have shorted the highs are taking profits. So yeah, basically, if you're looking to short, you have to get a good entry and you have to not be greedy on your take profits. But yeah, of course, I'm out of that short trade already, and we're looking at new price action now with a lot of strength in the market here locally. So where I would say we got the highest degrees of probabilities next in terms of new trade setups. I've talked about this a few times before, the 100,000 psychological level. This is a psychological level that everybody's always aware of. 100,000. We got $100,000. So the thing is, though, for me, this level has already been tested. So, of course, we dropped down through the level. We got a big move to the downside, and then we retested 100,000 psychological for another move to the downside, right? Whereas now, if we are to test 100K again, that level has already been tested once. So I class it as a weaker level. It doesn't mean that it cannot hold up again, but I do class it as a weakened level. It's not as strong as that first retest. So for me, I'm not a massive fan of 100,000, to be honest with you. Do I think it is a level? Of course, yes, it is a level. But do I think it's a super strong level? Not really. What we do have to remember, though, is the overall all-time high anchored VWAP is on that zone. So that does increase the level. So it's no longer just 100,000 psychological. You do have the downtrend anchored VWAP, which, as you all know, was an epic short trade. That is a short trade that I did take on the 3rd of February. On that high, we had the confluence of taking out these series of highs, which was also on a weekly level. Seems like a long time ago now, but that was a wonderful confluence that we had for the short. So although I think the 100,000 psychological is already tested and weakened, thus we would expect more of a move straight through the level, we cannot forget the downtrend anchored VWAP. So that's just something that I wanted to remind you of. You don't get too excited when you got such a wonderful level right above you. So, that's the thought process that we have going on at that 100,000 psychological. I would say it requires a lower term time frame setup. I do think it is a weakened level for sure. Thus, a move through the level to higher prices is more likely. But can it get a reaction? Yes. Thus, we can, very much like yesterday, okay, when I shorted the fake out of this. Okay, so I took the short trade here. Again, what's really nice about this is we got over $1,000 drop to the downside. We hit into the support level. And of course, it bounced and made up into new highs yesterday. Of course, the alternative is that you end up losing the anchored VWAP. And then, of course, you have a short trade that runs for more profits. That's why you can take your take profit one at the important support level. And then if it rises, well, you get stopped out the rest of the trade, so be it. But if you lose the level, well, then you, of course, can let that short run for even more profits. It's just a nice position to be in for that level of protection. We could look for the same up here at that anchored VWAP, to be honest, where, again, first we need the entry trigger. So if we just hit the level and go straight through it, there's no entry trigger, there's no short trade, we look for higher. But if we come into that anchored VWAP and we do get an entry trigger, such as mini range SFB, and we get the short trade setup, well, we could be looking for the similar take profit one off of this uptrend anchored VWAP, which is, you can see here, this is a local uptrend anchored VWAP from yesterday's low. You can see the support is just incredibly strong. Support, 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 support. My friends, let's say anchored VWAP for you. But let's say we come up into this level and this anchored VWAP's making its way up. Well, let's say we get into the short off of a mini range SFB. We can use the take profit one here, much like yesterday, okay? Then, if we bounce up, well, we get stopped out that short, so be it. It's expected in a bull market. We move on to 101, 102 plus $1,000. Alternatively, you hit that level. Again, you take profit one, but then you end up doing this and you drop through the level. Well, then you still have your short trade open and it runs for even more profits. You still locked in your first take profit one, but the remainder of your trade is running for more profits. That's the way that I like to approach my trading always, especially with shorts. Again, do I think that this is I want to say this. I will ask you the question first. Do you think it is risky? Do you think it's very risky to short in a bull market? You know, I know there's some people that will tell you, never short in a bull market. That's the worst decision you could ever make. You're going to take so many losses. You're going to take so many, bad trades. Why don't you just long? My reply to this is, is it risky or more risky to short in a bull market? My answer is no. I actually do enjoy shorting in all market conditions, as I enjoy longing in all market conditions. I still have longs open on Bitcoin, right? So it's not like I'm this perma bear that only looks for short trades. I have longs open on Bitcoin, and I will actively look for longs. But the reason why for me it's not riskier to short in a bull market is because I still wait for high probability trade setups. Okay, so even my short trade yesterday that I took, this was still a high probability trade where I got in at the absolute high of the move and it dropped $1,000, okay, for a take profit. So that was still profitable trading. It's just, you have to understand it's not riskier because we are just trading. First of all, it's a lower term time frame idea, right? So, it's an intraday, set up for the entry trigger. So it's just that degree of understanding. The people that say never short in a bull market, it's so risky to short in a bull market, it's not. Okay, we wait for good entry triggers. We understand our take profits. We have our invalidations. Okay. Again, this is where trading is complex, and I will never say it's easy. Okay, I can make it look easy, but it's not easy because you have to be thinking. As I said at the start of this video, it is a higher degree of probability that we move up because we are in a bull market. So with that as a fact, it is a higher probability to move to the upside. When we're taking these short trades, we are trading against the trend. So that's the argument of, okay, then it's riskier to short in a bull market, right? Because you're more likely to lose. Well, then that is invalidated from my perspective when you understand the moves that we're entering are on lower term timeframes. Even in a bull market, nothing does this straight up in a line. You see this as it moves in the trend. So if you can short from the high to the higher low, well, that is a profitable trade. And then you get the continuation. So it's not riskier as long as you're waiting for the good high probability trade setups. And that's a higher probability from a lower term time frame, because in the higher term time frame, the higher probability is higher. But if you wait for the lower term time frame, high probability trade setups at resistance, you can take advantage of that move to the downside. So you do the same here. You get into a nice short trade. You look for that take profit one. Then if you get the continuation, so be it. But at some point, the trend ends and it moves down. Then you have a very nice short trade protection from that whole move to the downside. I still have my short trade open from $106,000. And I know some people at the time may have thought, well, why is Daniel shorting $106,000? This is such a bad trade setup. We're in a bull market. What are you doing? Well, I've been in that trade now for nearly 1 month. Every day getting paid funding. So do not forget you get paid 0.01% funding every 8 hours. That's 0.03% a day on nice position sizes. This adds up. You know, 1 month being in that position, getting paid 0.03% a day on average, because okay, there's fluctuations, of course. But if you look today, that's the funding rate, 0.01%. So you get paid every day for holding that short trade. I am in a hedge short where I am in a position now where if price tomorrow goes to $130,000, hey, that short from 106,000 was more than profitable. I've hit take profit one. I've been getting paid the funding. You know, what we're looking for here is profits at the end of the day. It's not really about being right or wrong. Okay, when you think about it, it's not, well, I was right on that trade, I was wrong on that. It's about making profits, because you can be wrong on a trade idea and still make profits. You know, let's say I shorted $106,000 with a target of $84,000. Well, I was wrong if we pump now to 130 on that short. Technically, I was wrong, right? But it made profits. So do I care that it was wrong? No, because it was a profitable trade. Just like yesterday, when I took the short trade from the high, well, I could have had a target for $90,000. In the end, we hit the anchored VWAP and moved up again. Well, technically, I was wrong on that trade setup of the short, but it still made profits. And that's what we're here for. We're not here to be right or wrong. We are here to profit on trades. That's the key thing that you're looking for there. Get in, get out. Okay, move on to the next trade. So, sorry, this video is a little bit longer than normal. I do need to take a drink. It's not a Chart Champions live stream if you don't see me take a drink. So, yeah, so that's basically the way that I view the market. And now I want to go over some more localized trades just to, you know, give you some little bit of alpha here. So again, 100,000 psychological on the downtrend anchor VWAP is a lower term time frame setup. It's an area to be aware of. Do I think we can blast straight through it? Yes. That's why we wait for the lower term time frame entry trigger. But of course, everything's more bullish right now. What I would say is, of course, breaking out of the downward sloping parallel channel was great. Very nice, bullish, right? But should we lose that and break that back down below? Well, that then is going to give us a big fake out. And the fake out, of course, is much more bearish. So if we are to lose that old resistance, if it's not flipped into support, then that is a very bearish outlook of the chart. Okay. You can see here locally you had a little back test of this parallel channel. Again, if you move it from this high. But you can see more or less this is the zone that we're looking at as a support. And that's at around 96,900. You would then have the, you know, let's say we drop from here. You do have the back test of the channel on the daily naked point of control. So that is, of course, first and foremost viewed as support. But again, it's like this same option, right? As you can take shorts from the high and you get at some point you're going to lose, some point you're going to win, right? You could look for your long here. Again, it could get a bounce to the upside. Perfect. And that bounce could net you a lot of profit, or it could end in a lower high and you get stopped out. At the end of the day, you just waited for your high probability trade setup. That doesn't guarantee you a win. That's why you got to be, you know, on point on your take profits, getting your stop losses set. If it ends in a bounce, great. It ends in more profits. If it loses, well, you get stopped out. You look for your next trade setup. But right now, I'd say that the two big zones, of course, are towards 101,500. I would say that the biggest support for me is actually $96,000. And those are the two big levels that I'm waiting for. And again, intraday, we have around 100,000 psychological, not the biggest level. And then you have this daily naked point of control, 96,887, a little bit more than the 100K psychological. But I think the bigger level is $96,000. But nevertheless, you can see it requires a degree of patience. And this is my last bit of alpha to end this video. Again, the highest degree of probabilities right now from a perspective of breaking out of the channel, local bullish market structure, the overall trend, lower and higher term time frame is up. But that doesn't mean we enter a long now. Okay, if you enter the long now, you're actually on a lower term time frame longing into a resistance zone. You're at the mini range high. So if you are longing now, you are actually taking a very bad trade, in my opinion. Can it play out? Yes, but that's more of a gamble luck, long in FOMO than a high probability trade setup. And that's what we're all about at Chart Champions, if you haven't noticed, high probabilities, not being the gambler. So yeah, higher probability is a move to the upside, but that does not mean I'm going to be taking a long trade here because you're at local resistance. If you want a long, you've got to wait for a pullback. It's as simple as that. And if the pullback doesn't come, then you are going to be, well, unless you got in your long from lower, let's say you're in no long trade, well, you are simply going to be missing the move. And it is better to miss the move than take bad trades. I really mean that. You could take a long now in FOMO and get, lucky this time that it just goes straight up. Yeah, you could do that. But if you take that trade 10 times, you're going to lose 8 times and maybe you get lucky twice. But the majority of the time, you're going to do that and lose the trade and then think, why didn't I remain patient for a pullback? Okay, that's always the better thing to do, remain patient for the pullback. So yeah, higher probability is, of course, to the upside, but that doesn't guarantee upside. Okay, we can absolutely see a flush here and a bigger move to the downside. That's why I call for patience here at this moment in time. And actually a lot of the time in trading, I am remaining patient. And that's the beauty of trading, not just Bitcoin, because let's say 8 hours of the day, well, I spend 30 minutes trading Bitcoin. Well, the 7.5 hours of the day, I can be looking at other assets. I'm really trading a lot of NQ, gold right now. Oil is pretty decent. Of course, I'm looking at altcoins, but I'm not actively trading them right now. But altcoins, to be fair, are offering a lot of opportunities. So you got the whole altcoin markets. I'm very much getting back into my Nvidia things, but yeah, where I'm going with this is 8 hours in the day, if you're trading Bitcoin for one of it, you have 7 hours, where you're remaining patient on Bitcoin. Don't waste that time. Look at other assets, altcoins, etc. There's lots of opportunities out there, and you could spend 8 hours of the day, 8 hours of trading, remaining patient. And while you're remaining patient, got your alert set, trade another asset. It's all about the high probabilities. And so, yeah, a little bit of a different video today. I hope that you've really enjoyed it. I will say this, if you have enjoyed it, then you can get videos like this with much more in-depth analysis. Okay. You have to understand that my best work is always going to be for the members, right? This is a paid service. It's what people are here that are taking it very seriously. So if you want to get involved on that, we got live streams every day. We got stuff dedicated to stocks, of course, primarily crypto, but everything involved in that. Then the whole educational library, live trading streams, everything that you need, as well as, of course, the updates in the Discord. If you wondered, there was a pump yesterday. What did we pump from? Well, you'd have known if you were in the Champions Discord, which is the anchored VWAP. So these types of insights, education, and the community, the very family-filled community that we have with Chart Champions, if that's of interest to you, check us out. I really think you will not only like it, you will not only see your trading improve, but you can also make some very good friends along the way. And so, I think it's a wonderful thing that we have here. And if you would like to see more of it, you know where to get it. chartchampions.com. Thank you ever so much. And that is what we want to be seeing. Lots more meetups, lots more of us getting together in person and just having a very good time together. So cheers, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed. And that's me signing out. Thank you and goodbye.